Hello, hello, and welcome back to the channel. All right, you guys, today we are going to be continuing the series Cheap versus Expensive Bling, and this month we are going to be diving into the world of fragrances. For this investigation, we are going to be comparing YSL's Black Opium and Chanel No. 5, a classic, against cheaper dupes from the brand Dossier. I assume it's pronounced Dossier, like Glossier, but it could be Dossier. No, it's got to be Dossier, right? Anyway, this is so not relevant. Okay, fragrances. Let's talk about them. Starting with, why are designer fragrances like YSL, Chanel, Dior, etc. so expensive? For this video, I bought a 1 ounce bottle of the Chanel and the YSL. 1 ounce, okay, of each perfume, and they were each around $100 each for 1 ounce of liquid, okay? I don't even want to get into how expensive the full-size bottles were. It was outrageous. Well, designer fragrances can be expensive for several reasons. There's the quality of ingredients, the brand prestige, the marketing. First, let's talk about ingredients. Many designer brands use high-quality natural resources that are difficult and expensive to source. For example, natural rose oil, ambergris, and other exotic ingredients can be labor-intensive and costly to produce. In some cases, natural ingredients can only be harvested in limited quantities, making them scarce and driving up the price. Another reason is perceived brand value. We've talked about that a couple of times on this channel, where brands will make something more expensive because if you see that it's more expensive, you automatically assume that it's nicer or better in some way, literally just because of the perceived value of the brand. Designer fragrances are often associated with like luxury fashion houses like YSL, Chanel, Gucci, Dior, etc. And the price tag represents not just the fragrance itself, but the prestige of the actual brand. Customers are paying not just for the product, but for the association with high-end fashion. Designer fragrances can be so expensive because of a demand from customers who associate higher prices with better quality. But now that we've kind of established some reasons why designer fragrances are so expensive, perceived brand value, brand prestige, quality of ingredients, and there's also the whole idea of complex like layering of fragrances. Oftentimes these designers have skilled perfumers blend these fragrances in a way that makes them last longer and smell like have layers to the scents, which can cost more money. So production, there's also like an additional production cost in making them just a little bit more luxurious and nicer. What about the dupes? What about this brand Dossier that I found? I actually found Dossier because of one of you guys recommending it when I mentioned I was going to do fragrances. So thank you so much, because it was exactly what I was looking for. Dossier is a website that they produce their own signature scents, but they also produce scents for a much cheaper price tag that are meant to dupe or mock more high-end scents. They had dupes for all kinds of famous and popular designer fragrances, but I obviously grabbed the 2 that were correlating with the designer's fragrances that we were talking about in this video. Each of the Dossier perfume bottles is 1.6 ounces, and they were only $29 each, so the price difference is extreme. Here is why Dossier can be slightly cheaper. Well, one, as opposed to maybe some more expensive ingredients, they can go for a more affordable version of the same ingredient. They may also use more synthetic ingredients as opposed to naturally sourced ingredients. Because Dossier perfumes are dupes and not meant to be like knockoffs or, you know, exact replicas, they're not going for the exact same scent. They're going for something in a similar palette, which means they don't have to get the exact same ingredients, and they can go for synthetic ingredients, cheaper ingredients all together to make the cost of the actual bottle much cheaper. Obviously, there's also a lack of brand recognition. I didn't even know what Dossier was until I started researching for this video. Because of that, nobody has a perceived value of the brand Dossier. It's just not a well-known like household brand name the way that Gucci, YSL, Chanel, etc. are. So therefore, Dossier perfumes aren't carrying the high markup of being associated with a designer brand. Another thing that we can talk about as to why Dossier may be cheaper is that they operate with direct consumer sales. So for the YSL and the Chanel perfume bottles that I bought, I purchased them through Ulta, a third-party distributor. For the Dossier perfumes, I bought them directly from their website. In this way, they cut out the middleman of retailers and distributors, which also lowers overall production costs and marketing costs and getting it out to the consumer. So these are some of the reasons why the designer scents can be so very expensive and the dupes are not so much. Maybe. But does any of that matter? No. What really matters is performance and smell, obviously. We're talking about perfumes here. So let's talk about how the designer perfumes stack up against the dupes. For our little comparison in this video, we're going to talk about 4 things. We're going to talk about the scent, obviously. That feels like the most important. Second most important will be the longevity of the scent. Third most important will be the quality of the ingredients. And the fourth most important that we can never overlook in this video is value, actual cost. What are you getting for what you're spending? It's not always the case that the cheaper thing is better just by virtue of being cheaper, as we have found in this video. Sometimes it's worth it to spend, 4 times the amount for a product if it's truly giving you 4 times the value and it is going to last longer or be better in any particular way. So let's break all of those down. And first, let's talk about the scent. Now, what scents people like are extremely subjective. I mean, this is all opinion-based. I chose YSL and Chanel mostly because I feel like they're extremely well-known in the fragrance world. I mean, everybody knows Chanel No. 5. And YSL Black Opium, I remember really liking it once I smelled it at a store. There's really nothing further than that. But let's talk about the scent profiles of each one. And I'm gonna have to reference my phone here because there's no fucking way I could memorize all of this. Chanel No. 5, according to the website, is supposed to have notes of, and I don't even know what the fuck this is, aldehyde, May Rose, and jasmine. Oh, look at me doing the research for myself. Apparently, aldehyde is a clean, metallic, soapy, or waxy smell with floral or citrus undertones. Yeah. Having already smelled the Chanel, I can tell you that I definitely smell that. On the Dossier website for the Chanel dupe, which is actually called something different. It's not called the Chanel dupe. It's called floral aldehydes. Well, there you fucking go. That has notes of aldehyde, bergamot, jasmine, May Rose, and sandalwood. So a little bit more, but ultimately the same thing. For the YSL on the product website, it said that it had notes of coffee, white flowers, and vanilla. And the YSL dupe, which is of course not actually called YSL dupe, but instead called Amberry Vanilla, has notes of mandarin, pear, pink pepper, licorice, tuberose, daffodil, cedarwood, vanilla, and coffee. So somewhere in there is the vanilla, coffee, and white flowers, but obviously Dossier had a lot more information about their scents on their website. Therefore, they had more notes listed. Okay, so that's what we're smelling today. This is YouTube. You can't smell it. You're just about to have to take my word for this. I have worn these perfumes for the last couple of days because I was testing longevity, which we'll talk about in a second, but I didn't talk too much about the way they actually smelled. I'm gonna smell them once again for you here right now, live on camera, and I'll tell you if I think they smell the same. So, uno momento while I open them up and do this for real. I'm gonna clip you right here. Okay, let's start with YSL. They smell extremely similar. I would say that the Dossier one is a little lighter. This one feels a little bit richer. The YSL one, rather, feels a little bit richer. It feels a little bit more well-rounded. The coffee, vanilla, the like warm, rich scents that are supposed to be in this YSL, you really get strong on the nose, like from the first time you smell it. For the Dossier one, that's all there, but it's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit less heavy and it's a little bit less rich. Those are the words I would use to describe it. They do smell extremely similar. They're made up of very similar scents and ingredients, which we'll get to in a second. But where the Dossier is a little bit lighter, the YSL is a little bit heavier in scent. However, if you don't want to spend whatever this was, $100-something on a 1 ounce of perfume, but you like the scent of the YSL, you really cannot go wrong with this dupe in terms of scent. In so many ways, they really, really nailed it. Now let's talk about Chanel No. 5 and floral aldehyde. You know, I knew what Chanel No. 5 was, but I really didn't know much about it other than it's a super famous perfume. I'm learning that I'm not a huge fan of the way it smells. Remember the first time I sprayed it on me, I was like, oh, whatever this aldehyde thing is, I'm not a huge fan of. It kind of smells like my mom in the 90s. Which is not a bad thing. It smells good. It's perfume. It doesn't smell bad, but it smells like perfume. I don't know how to explain that. That's a personal taste thing, right? Yeah, the dupe is very similar. I'm gonna smell so fucking weird at the end of this video. The dupe is extremely similar, and then it's got that like light floral, but like kind of soapy, I guess that's what the aldehyde is supposed to be, scent. I think that these two are closer and this dupe is better than the YSL one. Even though the YSL one is good, there's definitely like a difference. There's a lightness, there's a change. These two are near indistinguishable from each other. So if you really want to smell like Chanel No. 5 and not just have this bottle as an aesthetic, then I would 100% go for the dupe. They smell the exact fucking same, you guys. It's kind of wild. Okay, so there we go. Scent-wise, the dupes, at least for these two examples, really fucking nailed it. Okay, now let's talk about longevity. So for this, I, in fact, wore the perfumes for you guys, so let's cut to that footage now. Okay, you guys, we are starting the longevity test with, oh, Jesus, could you imagine? Oh my God. With YSL Black Opium. Yeah, it's morning, and here we go. I like that. Okay, I can smell it now. I guess we'll see if I'll smell it at the end of the day. It is currently 8:42 a.m. so I'll catch up with you guys at the end of the day. Good morning. I forgot to update you guys last night, but I did take note of the way I smelled at the end of the day. First of all, during dinner, Mario asked me if I put a new perfume on. So he smelled me just like sitting next to me over 8 hours after I originally put the perfume on. And then later that night while I was washing my face, brushing my teeth, you know, getting ready for bed, I like took a whiff and it still smelled so strongly. So that perfume held up all damn day. Let's continue our investigation into the designer perfumes with Chanel No. 5. I just took a shower. I'm in the middle of getting ready. So I just sprayed this on, and I'll update you guys either at the end of the day or tomorrow morning. Okay, so the Chanel No. 5 also lasted pretty much throughout the day, but it was not as strong as the YSL. Like at the end of the day, if I went like this, I could still smell it, but like Mario couldn't smell it sitting next to me. So if I were gonna go out or something that night, I would probably reapply a little bit, but I still smelled it on me. So it lasted pretty much the whole day, but it wasn't as strong as YSL. Anyway, we're moving on to the dupes. This is the YSL dupe. I do really like the way this smells. Okay, it's definitely sufficiently strong. Oh, by the way, this is my tripod. You're like, what the fuck is in her bathroom? Anyway, it smells sufficiently strong now, but I guess I'll catch up with you. It seems tomorrow morning. I will probably remember to catch up with you. Hello, good morning. I have to be kind of quiet because my kid is still sleeping. I will say that the dupe, I would say the dupe of the YSL lasted about as long as the Chanel No. 5 designer one. Like, same idea, where at the end of the day, I could still smell it on me, but like, Mario didn't like smell it sitting across the table from me, you know what I mean? YSL continues to be the strongest and most long-lasting scent, but Chanel No. 5 and the first dupe, very similar. Today we're gonna try the Chanel No. 5 dupe, so let's see. See you tomorrow. Hi you guys, it's the next day, and I gotta say the Chanel dupe lasted about as long as the YSL dupe, so that, like, at least brand wise, like Dossier seems to have a kind of similarity. Anyway, that's the check-in. I don't know how to end this clip. A fragrance's staying power is obviously critical. Most people want their perfumes to last throughout the entire day. And I found, obviously, from you guys just saw the footage, that these perfumes performed at like different levels. I would say the one that lasted the longest, without a doubt, was the YSL Black Opium. But in terms of comparing the designer brands to the Dossier brands, designer brands lasted slightly longer, slightly more throughout the day. But even between the two of them, like YSL lasted longer than Chanel. So, you know, there's going to be a major difference in longevity from fragrance to fragrance. I don't think it's just a designer thing. Designers are always 8+ hours and dupes are 6+ hours. But in general, fragrances are just going to last longer no matter what because of the different chemical makeup. However, both the designer fragrances and the dupes lasted pretty much throughout my entire day for both of them, with all of them, except for the YSL, requiring a small touch up if you were going to go out somewhere at night. So longevity wise, once again, I'm feeling like the dupes are kind of the same. It smells so crazy where I'm filming you guys right now. I just sprayed so much perfume. Okay, the third thing we're going to talk about is the quality of the ingredients and the ingredient makeup of these fragrances. Here's the deal, and honestly, I thought this is where the dupes were going to fall apart, but I took a look at the ingredients list of all of the bottles I bought, and I was truly shocked to see just how crazy similar the designer like chemical makeup was to the dupe chemical makeup. I'm gonna put a side-by-side comparison of the ingredients list on screen now. Dossier perfumes had almost all of the same ingredients as the designer ones. The designer fragrances had a couple more chemical compounds. It's possible though that they have the same ingredients and the designer ones are just sourced from a better quality raw material, but to a layman's eyes, just looking directly at the actual ingredients, there is not a huge disparity in this list. So scent for scent, longevity for longevity, and ingredient to ingredient, there's not a ginormous difference that we're seeing so far between, how many times am I going to say designer versus dupe in this fucking video? Okay, anyway, there's not a huge difference. The last thing we have to talk about is value. Is it worth it to spend $100+ on 1 ounce of perfume when you could get relatively the same scent for $30? In my opinion, no. This is one of those times in a cheap versus expensive video where I am saying go with the cheap version. I'm not a fragrance expert. Perhaps there is a component here that I am missing. I tried to do my research the best I could, but please, if you're a fragrance person, let me know what I missed. But to my layman's eyes, there is absolutely no reason besides the perceived value of a designer brand to buy the designer fragrance over a cheap dupe. I'm actually really impressed that there are companies that are well established, like Dossier, that literally have dupes for almost all of the most famous fragrances in the world. And I know going forward that if I am getting swept up in the craze of a new fragrance that's storming TikTok or whatever app has replaced TikTok by the time this video comes up, then I'm not gonna buy the expensive one. I'm gonna go on Dossier or some other cheap dupe website. I just happen to know this one from this video and buy that one. The value, the price, has to, in my opinion, come down mostly just to literally the prestige behind the brand names. It's Chanel, of course it's expensive. It's YSL, of course it's expensive. But in my opinion, it doesn't really make it any better. Now, here's something kind of silly that we haven't talked about, but the bottles are cuter. Like, look at this. I mean, that Chanel bottle, that's cute. This one, boring. But like, who the fuck is gonna see your perfume bottles, right? For me, nobody. They go in a drawer in my bathroom. But anyway, here we are at the end of this video, and I've made my final decision. Judge Rachel Rambles has made her verdict. Unlike the last cheap versus expensive video where I did see the merit of spending money on the brand name because they produced a higher quality item, for the fragrance video, I'm not convinced. From a very surface level investigation, comparing the things that you think of most frequently when you think of fragrances, I just don't see any reason to spend so much money on perfume. And if it wasn't for this video, I would feel super silly for having done so in the first place. But that's just my opinion. So here's what I would do if I were you and you're looking to get into the world of fragrances. I would go to the department store and smell them all because that's fun. By the way, if you're ever looking for like a weird date idea, Mary and I used to do that all the time. Go to the department store, smell all the perfumes, decide which one you like, and then go on Dossier and buy it for $30. You get more, it smells the same, it lasts almost just as long. I don't know why you wouldn't. this really sounds like a fucking ad for, I don't even know if I'm saying the brand name right. Dossier. I swear to God, it's not. I just like this dupe. I'm really happy I found it, and I'm really happy that I have it as a option and a resource if I choose to change up my scent. For what it's worth, neither of these perfumes are my daily perfume. I'm a big Sol de Janeiro girl. Whatever. Now I have these, so I have the next couple of years to smell like Chanel and YSL because that's how long it'll take me to get through them. And that's kind of all I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Y'all are the best. I love you oh so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.